defenders.
We are defenders of Zion.
We are the defenders.
We are, yeah.
We are the defenders.
We are defenders of Zion.
We are the defenders.
We are defenders of Zion.
This class right here is for unbelief. This class right here is for you and me. This class right here means everything. Everything that an Israelite needs to be. This class right here is for unbelief. This class right here is for you and me. This class right here means everything. Everything that an Israelite needs to be.
No one told us life could get this hard. Everybody failed except the Lord. When I feel like I ain't coming through, I see these issues don't apply to you. Had to change my path, change my ways. All of this heart attack don't last always. The most I make us kings to serve as slaves. I'ma be an Israelite to the grave.
We are the defenders.
We are defenders of Zion.
We are the defenders.
We are, yeah.
We are the defenders.
We are defenders of Zion.
We are the defenders.
We are defenders of Zion.
All right, shalom. Most High in Christ bless to everybody that's tuning in. Tonight's topic, be his peace. All right. We want to say happy Sabbath. All right, to everybody that's tuning in. One thing about this truth, you're gonna have things that happen. All right, trials and tribulations are gonna happen. But you have to prepare yourself, and you have to understand that you have to put your trust in the Lord. Tomorrow's topic, obviously, is going to be Kevin Samuels, The Real Problem. All right. First off, we like to say rest in peace. All right. And we send our condolences to his family. All right. This class actually ties into tomorrow's topic. All right. Let's open up with the book of Isaiah, chapter 26 and verse 2.
Shalom, fam. Most High in Christ bless. The book of Isaiah, chapter 26 and verse 2. Open ye the gates, that the righteous nation which keepeth the truth may enter in.
It say, open ye the gates, that the righteous nation which keepeth the truth may enter in. Obviously, when you're reading this, it's talking about the kingdom of heaven, all right? And the righteous nation, the righteous Israelites are going to enter in. Come on.
Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee.
Thou will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. All right. As an Israelite man, you have to understand that your job is to be stayed on the Lord. Your job is to be occupied in this truth. And when you do so, the Bible says, thou will keep him in perfect peace. When you think about the Israelite woman, the wife, your job is to be a helpmeet. Your job is to make sure that the man that you are taking care of is being occupied in this. Your job is to make sure that he's comfortable in this truth. Your job is to be his help. All right. Let's go to the book of Sirach. Ecclesiasticus chapter 28. Ecclesiasticus chapter 28. And let's read verse 12.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, or the book of Sirach, chapter 28 and verse 12. If thou blow the spark,
If thou blow the spark, come on,
it shall burn.
it shall burn. So if you have a fire or if you have something that's about to be lit and you blow on it, it's going to spark it. It's going to increase it. Come on.
If thou spit upon it,
If thou spit on that fire, come on,
it shall be quenched.
it shall be quenched. Come on.
And both these come out of thy mouth.
And both these come out of thy mouth, man. So your man, he's trying to lead his household. Your man is trying to establish peace with the Most High. All right. Your job is to comfort him in doing so. Right. This is all a part of being his peace. Okay. This is a very touchy subject because, you know, a lot of sisters want to get married, but a lot of sisters don't understand what it takes to be a wife, to be that helpmeet. Okay. Let's go to chapter 25. Sirach, chapter 25. And let's read verse 20.
The book of Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 25 and verse 20. As the climbing up a sandy way is to the feet of the aged, so is a wife full of words to a quiet man.
As the climbing up a sandy way is to the feet of the aged, it's going to be wearisome. It's going to be tiring, aggravating. It's a, verse 20, it says, so is a wife full of words to a quiet man. It's going to be wearisome. It's going to be the same things, okay? So you have a man that's, you know, don't really have a lot to say. This man is striving to be righteous. Why should you be full of words to that man? When you think about being full of words, it's not talking about you, you know, telling them about your day or, you know, you just having a lot of conversation. It's not talking about that. When it's talking about you being full of words, it's talking about your complaining. It's talking about your nagging. It's talking about you putting him in a position of not being comforted. That's what it's going into. So you have to understand the things that you say and the way that you feel, it affects your spouse. Okay. One thing that you have to see in this truth is that man and woman are not the same. The way that a woman thinks and the way that a man thinks are two different things. And when you start to see that and you start to realize that, you'll understand what it means to be his peace. Being his peace means that you are at peace and you have self-control. But if you don't have that, let's read verse 16.
The book of Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 26 and verse 16.
25, 16.
25 and 16. I had rather dwell with a lion and a dragon than to keep house with a wicked woman.
I'd rather dwell with a lion and a dragon than to keep house with a wicked woman. Ladies, you know, a lot of women, you know, they're not gonna like this class. It's the same thing, you know, when you know, the sisters watch Kevin Samuels. And it's like, you know, he's telling them certain things and they're not liking it because, quite frankly, he was telling them the truth. Of course, this man didn't have the truth, but he was saying things that you actually read in the Bible, and they was disagreeing with that. So it shows you what the real problem is, man. It shows you what the real problem is. somebody that's not in the truth is speaking things that are of the truth. The scriptures say that the Gentiles would do that. The Gentiles who have not the law, when they speak of things in the law, it becomes a law to themselves. Let's read verse 17.
Verse 17. The wickedness of a woman changeth her face, and darkeneth her countenance like sackcloth.
The wickedness of a woman changeth her face, and darkeneth her countenance like sackcloth. What is this showing you? All right. Evil men understand not judgment. Okay. But the righteous understand all things. Ultimately, what this is showing you is you can't hide this stuff from a righteous man. You can't hide. I mean, you're being seen. At the end of the day, the scriptures show you that, a woman's eyelids, it shows. It shows who she really is. Okay, come on.
Verse 18. Her husband shall sit among his neighbors, and when he heareth it, shall sigh bitterly.
It's saying when he heareth it, shall sigh bitterly, man. That means that the way you conduct yourself around people, your husband sees that. And it could really make him feel bitter. It could really make him feel like, man, I wish that my woman was righteous. It's an embarrassment. It puts him to shame. And you read that in the scriptures, it show you that a woman that does that to her husband is going to be judged ungodly of all, man. So you have to keep in mind, it's one thing to conduct yourself in the right spirit around your husband's peers. But then it's another thing, you have to do that when you're alone. Don't be that sister that, make your husband's plate at the feast days. Here you go, babe. But then behind closed doors, you're the devil. You're Satan. You don't want to be in that light, man. And you brothers need to learn how to correct your gates. A lot of brothers will, not correct their gates and think that they are righteous man. When your wife just running all over the place being disrespectful, man. We have to think about these things, man. Come on.
All wickedness is but little to the wickedness of a woman. Let the portion of a sinner fall upon her.
All wickedness is but little to the wickedness of a woman, man. This is showing you that there is a type of woman that could just bring down the walls, man. I'm talking about a woman that just can break up an organization. A woman can just break up her marriage. She can do a lot of different things that are just straight wicked, man. You have to make sure that you're not being that woman. The way that you become this woman is you not studying. The way that you become this woman is having a watchman and feeling like you don't have a job to do. But as an Israelite woman in this truth, you have a job to do. You have works that you have to do. You can't just lean all upon your husband. It don't work like that, man. That ain't the way this truth operates. Okay? Let's go to Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 3. Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 13.
The book of Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 13. Happy is the man that findeth wisdom.
Happy is the man that findeth wisdom. Okay? The Bible is written in a masculine form. So not only does this go for the man, but this goes for the woman. Happy is the woman that findeth wisdom. Come on.
And the man that getteth understanding.
And the man that getteth understanding. Come on.
For the merchandise of it is better than the merchandise of silver, and the gain thereof than fine gold.
It's showing you that having this wisdom is more valuable than fine gold. Come on.
She is more precious than rubies.
She is more precious than rubies. So this spirit of wisdom is coming to you in a feminine form, because wisdom is supposed to be your spouse. Wisdom is supposed to be your mate. That's why it's a feminine form. Come on.
And all the things thou canst desire are not to be compared unto her.
Nothing is compared unto wisdom, because once you have wisdom, true wisdom, you have the Spirit of Christ. Come on.
Length of days is in her right hand, and in her left hand riches and honor.
Length of days is in her right hand. When you keep the commandments, the scriptures show you that you're given life in general, right? And it says, and in her left hand riches and honor. Wisdom is profiting you more than silver and gold. Come on.
Her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace.
It say her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. As an Israelite woman, you should be following after wisdom. Why should your ways be anything besides being pleasant to your husband? Why should your ways go outside of bringing peace into your home? See, the thing about this truth is the truth shows you how you need to conduct yourself. Whether you follow it or not, the scriptures say word for word what kind of person you need to be. All right. And it's showing you that the spirit of wisdom, the spirit of Christ, is pleasant, is peace. Right? Let's go back to Sirach. Right? And make no mistake about it, man. You so-called blacks and you so-called Hispanics whose fathers are of Negroid and Indian descent, you are the biblical Israelites, okay? And this class is mainly directed towards you, man. Right? The book of Sirach, chapter 26 and verse 1.
The book of Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 26 and verse 1. Blessed is the man that hath a virtuous wife.
Blessed is the man that hath a virtuous wife, man. That term virtuous is thrown around all the time, but there are guidelines. All right? There are markers that's set in place. So you have virtuous woman, virtuous wife, and then you have a little mark right here, and it tells you how to be a virtuous wife, how to be a virtuous wife, how to be a virtuous wife. You can't just put a line through all those check marks and then act like you a virtuous wife. No. There are guidelines. There are things that you have to obey. Just like the men in the truth. We have to obey God's commandments. Same thing goes for the woman, the Israelite woman. All of the commandments for us are not the same. You have certain commandments that's set for the man, and you have certain commandments that's set for the woman as well. Right? Sirach 26 and verse 1.
The book of Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 26 and verse 1. Blessed is the man that hath a virtuous wife, for the number of his days shall be double.
For the number of his days shall be double if he have a virtuous wife. Hold this real quick. Let's go to chapter 30. Sirach chapter 30 and verse 22.
The book of Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 30 and verse 22. The gladness of the heart is the life of man.
The gladness of the heart is the life of man. when it's talking about a man's days being double, in order for that man to fulfill that, the scriptures is saying that he has to have the gladness of the heart. The only way you can bring that to your husband is through you being peaceful and pleasant with him. Come on.
And the joyfulness of a man prolongeth his days.
The joyfulness of a man prolongeth his days, man. To the Israelite women that are married, this is a part of your law. This is a part of your job right here. Let's go back to chapter 26 and let's read verse 2.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 26 and verse 2. A virtuous woman rejoiceth her husband, and he shall fulfill the years of his life in peace.
When it say he shall fulfill the years of his life in peace, it's talking about that man that he's not worried. That man, when it's talking about that man being in peace, that means that he's not worried about you, going off into the midst of sin or cussing him out or just simply complaining. That man is not worried about that because he can trust you. Come on.
Verse 3. A good wife is a good portion, which shall be given in the portion of them that fear the Lord.
Which shall be given in the portion of them that fear the Lord. So as a man, when you are doing what you're supposed to be doing, obviously the Lord is giving you a woman that's going to do what she's supposed to be doing. Come on.
Whether a man be rich or poor, if he have a good heart toward the Lord, he shall at all times rejoice with cheerful countenance.
Come on.
There be three things that mine heart feareth, and for the fourth I was sore afraid. The slander of a city, the gathering together of an unruly multitude, and a false accusation of all these are worse than death.
Mm-hmm.
But a grief of heart and sorrow is a woman that is jealous over another woman.
But a grief of heart and sorrow is a woman that is jealous over another woman, man. Obviously, when you go into this Bible, for one, you see multiple wives. It's in here. It's not unlawful. It is not a sin for a man to have multiple wives. But being the situation that we are in is out of order. But you have to consider the spirit that you in by looking at your man a certain way. Considering multiple wives. You got a man that he ain't never came to you and say, you know what? I think I want another wife. But then on the flip side, every chance you get, you talking to your man like this. I wish you would try to get you another wife. I'd be gone just like that. But sis, what you don't understand is you out of order. You out of order. See, you have to understand that there is the Most High, there is the Christ, there is the man, and then there's the Israelite woman. The Israelite man cannot open up his mouth and talk to the Christ any way he wants to. At the end of the day, the scriptures say the same way that you would treat Christ is the same way that you would treat your husband. So, and I'm going to just say it, man. I would say about 95% of the women do not look at their husband the way they would look at Christ. Even though that's the way that it should be, it's not being done. It's not being done. And that's an issue. Because the Israelite man is being judged based off of the way he treats Christ. You don't think you judged off the way you treat your husband, though? Come on.
And a scourge of the tongue, which communicateth with all. An evil wife is a yoke shaken to and fro. He that hath hold of her is as though he held a scorpion.
He that have hold of an evil wife is as though he held a scorpion. If you grab a scorpion, guess what's gonna happen to you? You're gonna get bit. You're gonna get pinched. It's showing you the same similitude of a wife. You have to ask yourself a question. Are you biting your husband? Come on.
Verse 8. A drunken woman and a gatter abroad causeth great anger, and she will not cover her own shame.
A drunken woman and a gatter abroad causeth great anger, and she will not cover her own shame. So you got a woman that's drunk all the time and just gadding abroad, man. That angers a man because he wants his woman to be sober-minded. Because of all of the things that he's going through, he needs his wife's support. He needs his wife to be stable and locked in with him so he can go to her and feel peace because he's battling the world. Come on.
The whoredom of a woman may be known in her haughty looks and eyelids. If thy daughter be shameless, keep her in straitly, lest she abuse herself through overmuch liberty. Watch over an impudent eye, and marvel not if she trespass against thee.
So at the end of the day, as a man, you should know what's going on. Keep your eyes open, man. Have an understanding about the way that your household is moving, because you're supposed to be in charge of your house. Come on.
She will open her mouth as a thirsty traveler, when he hath found a fountain, and drank of every water near her. By every hedge will she sit down, and open her quiver against every arrow.
You have to keep your eyes on your children, because what happens is your children, when they start seeing these ways of the world, they're going to try it. They're going to try to be a partaker of that. And it's your job to let them know, thus saith the Lord. If you have children that are just blatantly disrespectful to you and doing everything that you tell them not to, and you trying your best, man, that's on them. But you have to understand that you have a job. You have to make sure that you deliver yourself from that blood on your hands. The only way that you can do that is by following God's statutes that he set in place. And not being lenient. Because a lot of y'all, you have your wife, you have your children, and you decide that you want to let things slide. But that's not the nature of this Bible. To let things slide and just let things go. The Lord told the Israelite man that he needed to gird up his loins, man. And be an example. Not be a pushover. Read.
The grace of a wife delighteth her husband.
The grace of a wife delighteth her husband. Meaning that he's teaching her. And the things that he taught her, he can tell that she's learning. And that's what gives him confidence, and he trusts her. Come on.
And her discretion will fatten his bones.
Her discretion will fatten his bones, man. Of course, the scriptures tell us that, health is, a good estate. But at the end of the day, a good wife will fatten his bones, man. Come on.
A silent and loving woman is a gift of the Lord, and there is nothing so much worth as mind well instructed.
As a mind well instructed. Obviously, as an Israelite woman, you have to be in a position to where you can be taught, to where your husband is teaching you certain things, and you're happy to be instructed. You shouldn't be feeling betrayed or feeling like your husband doesn't love you because he's trying to teach you when you have done something that's off. You really have to look at yourself and evaluate yourself and make sure that correction is not offending you. Right, come on.
Verse 15. A shamefaced and faithful woman is a double grace, and her continent mind cannot be valued.
It's saying her continent mind cannot be valued. When it's talking about a continent mind, it's talking about her having control. Having control. Come on.
As the sun when it ariseth in the high heaven, so is the beauty of a good wife in the ordering of her house.
In the ordering of her house. So, as an Israelite woman, it's your job to make sure that the house is being ordered. Everything that's going on in your house, it's your job to make sure that these things are running peacefully. That's your job. Come on.
As the clear light is upon the holy candlestick, so is the beauty of the face in ripe age.
So is the beauty of the face in ripe age. Not only if you're looking at, you look at the carnal aspect, you're looking at, a literal beautiful face. But honestly, when we look at Christ, we're supposed to be able to see his example. And the scriptures call that the beauty of the Lord, or the knowledge of the Lord is shining on the face of Jesus Christ. So as a wife, when it's talking about so is the beauty of the face in ripe age. That ripe age is you understanding how to conduct yourself in the truth. All right. And the beauty of you doing thus saith the Lord is much to be desired. Okay. Let's jump to verse 23.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, or the book of Sirach, chapter 26 and verse 23. A wicked woman is given as a portion to a wicked man, but a godly woman is given to him that feareth the Lord.
So when you read this, you have to understand, you should not, as a man, you should not be saying, man, my wife wicked as hell, man. Such and such, this and that. A wicked woman is given to a wicked man. So don't be so quick to bash your wife, man, but be quick to examine yourself. Come on.
Verse 24. A dishonest woman contemneth shame.
A dishonest woman contemneth shame. Come on.
But an honest woman will reverence her husband.
An honest woman will reverence her husband, man. Reverence is a word of high honor, man. It's saying that this wife is going to reverence her husband. How you reverence your husband, but you talking about some nigga please? Or who you think you is, a king? That's not reverencing your husband. It's not. To dishonor him would be you acting like he doesn't deserve your highest level of treatment. Come on.
A shameless woman shall be counted as a dog.
A shameless woman shall be counted as a dog. Remember that word dog. Come on.
But she that is shamefaced will fear the Lord. A woman that honoreth her husband shall be judged wise of all. But she that dishonoreth him in her pride shall be counted ungodly of all.
When you think about pride in this situation, this will be treating the Israelite man as a nigger. This will be you treating this man as if he doesn't deserve to be a king in your eyesight. Because at the end of the day, we look at Christ as our king. So if you're married, the scriptures say you have to reverence your husband the way that you would reverence Christ. Okay. Let's go to the book of Revelation, chapter 22, because what we were just talking about is we were talking about the man and the woman. They have different commandments. Okay. If you dishonor your husband in your pride, the scriptures say you're going to be counted as a dog. Revelation 22 and 14.
The book of Revelation, chapter 22 and verse 14. Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city.
So blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life. Come on.
For without are dogs.
For without the commandments are dogs. So if the Bible is saying that a woman dishonoring her husband is going to be accounted as a dog, that means that it's a commandment for you to reverence your husband. That's one of your laws that you have to follow. So it's one thing, a sister just thinking, as long as I wear my head wrap and, my dress and my fringes, I'll be acceptable to the Lord. But sis, the Bible say that your husband is your Lord. Are you reverencing him? Because you're going to be judged accordingly. That's a law that you have to follow. All right, let's go to Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes chapter 7. Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and verse 26.
The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7 and verse 26. And I find more bitter than death the woman, whose heart is snares and nets, and her hands as bands. Whoso pleases God shall escape from her, but the sinner shall be taken by her.
It said, I find more bitter than death the woman whose heart is snares and nets, and her hands is bands. It's talking about a woman that's applying herself as a trap. And she's using, whether it could be her narcissism, she's using her body as a way to trap her spouse into doing what she wants them to do. And it's a list. You have shame, insults, guilt, need to be right. Those are some of the things that you would consider to be a snare or a trap. But it say that whoso pleaseth God shall escape from her, but the sinner shall be taken by her. A sinner is going to be taken by lust. A sinner is going to be taken by her attempts, her body. And it's basically going to give his strength to that woman. That's what it's talking about, man. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 31. Proverbs chapter 31. And let's read verse 10.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 31 and verse 10. Who can find a virtuous woman?
Who can find a virtuous woman? A virtuous woman is a virtuous woman before she gets married. Come on.
For her price is far above rubies.
Her price is far above rubies. So we were just reading about wisdom. You're supposed to desire wisdom. It's supposed to be valuable to you more than silver and gold and rubies. It's giving you the comparison of a virtuous woman. So the same way that wisdom is supposed to be pleasant and wisdom is supposed to be peaceful, it's the same way a virtuous woman is supposed to conduct herself in wisdom. We're gonna read that. Come on.
The heart of her husband does safely trust in her.
The heart, the mind of her husband is safely trusting her. Meaning within that man's mind, he knows that, man, I got a good thing, man. I got a Proverbs 18:22 woman. Come on.
So that he shall have no need of spoil.
He shall have no need of spoil, man. You know, you being that virtuous woman, you treating that man right. What need is he gonna have to go outside of what you bringing to the table? Come on.
She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life.
Mm-hmm.
She seeketh wool and flax and worketh willingly with her hands.
Mm-hmm.
She is like the merchant ships. She bringeth her food from afar.
Mm-hmm.
She riseth also while it is yet night, and giveth meat to her husband, to her household, and a portion to her maidens.
So you have these things that's saying that a virtuous woman is this, a virtuous woman is that. How you gonna buy you a t-shirt with virtuous woman on it, but you ain't doing the stuff that makes you a virtuous woman? Do you rise while it's yet nighttime and provide meat for your household? Come on.
She considereth a field and buyeth it.
Mm-hmm.
With the fruit of her hands she planteth a vineyard.
Mm-hmm.
She girdeth her loins with strength, and strengthened her arms.
She girdeth her loins with strength. So you'll read, you read Job 40:7, you'll see, gird up thy loins like a man, but the woman, she has to gird up her loins. It's showing you that she has a job. She has a duty to follow, man. You ain't just about to just sit back, and Most High in Christ bliss. No. You need to do things in this truth. You have works to do. Come on.
She perceiveth that her merchandise is good. Her candle goeth not out by night.
Her candle goeth not out by night. Do you think this talking about a literal candle? Or is this talking about her being able to control her vessel? Her being able to control her emotions? Say her candle is not going out by night. Let's go to 1 Peter chapter 3. First Peter chapter 3. And let's read verse 1.
The book of 1 Peter chapter 3 and verse 1. Likewise, ye wives, be in subjection to your own husbands, that if any obey not the word.
It's saying that the wives need to be in subjection to their husbands, that if any obey not the word. So you as a wife, you keeping the commandments, but your husband is not obeying the word. Come on.
They also may without the word be won by the conversation of the wives.
So your husband is not following the word should be won over by the conversation of the wives. Without the word. What is that showing you? That it's not your job as a wife to be rebuking and going off on your husband. You're supposed to be his peace, his support system. And it's saying that this man could be won without the word. That means that man is looking at his woman and he's seeing her just being an example. He's seeing that woman and he's going, man, I ain't right. I ain't doing this right. I ain't doing that right. But my wife is staying in the spirit. A lot of times, ladies, what you're going to realize is that you don't have to go off and cuss your husband out to get your way. But the way that this thing is set up is by you being submissive. You're going to find out that that's the way that your husband will say, you know what, babe? You know what? I apologize, or, I was wrong. But when you're trying to be the man, when you're bucking up, that doesn't make a man want to apologize or change. When you're bucking up at a man, that makes the man buck up at you. And there can only be one masculine and one feminine in a relationship. And the Lord has set the roles up specifically the way they're supposed to be. Right? You have to understand that. Right? Read that from the top.
The book of 1 Peter, chapter 3 and verse 1. Likewise, ye wives, be in subjection to your own husbands, that if any obey not the word, they also may without the word be won by the conversation of the wives.
Let's go to Job. Let's go to the book of Job. Job chapter 2. All right. Let's just see how the conversation is not supposed to go. Job chapter 2 and verse 7.
The book of Job chapter 2 and verse 7.
Mm-hmm.
So went Satan forth from the presence of the Lord and smote Job with the sore boils from the sole of his foot unto his crown.
Mm-hmm.
And he took him a potsherd to scrape himself withal.
Mm-hmm.
And he sat down among the ashes.
Mm-hmm.
Then said his wife unto him, Dost thou still retain thine integrity? Curse God and die.
So think about this for a minute as a wife. When you're talking to your husband, what type of things are you feeding his soul? You have to think about that. What type of things are you feeding to your husband? Because remember, the scriptures say if you blow on a fire, it's going to burn. If you spit on the fire, it's going to quench it. Both of these things come from the mouth. Obviously, you have to mind the things that you speak to your husband. Speak life into him, man. This wife is telling him that he need to curse God and die. Is that the type of woman that you want to be? Is that the type of woman that's being his peace? No, it's not, man. It's not. But what you really seeing is that this woman, she doesn't trust her husband to lead. All right. And that's a problem in Israel, man. As an Israelite woman, you have to sit back and you have to trust your husband to lead in Christ. If you don't trust your husband, your conversation is going to show it. And your husband is going to pick up on this woman don't really trust me. Just like what we reading right here. This woman is saying, look, God doing you dirty. Curse him and die. But she don't understand that her husband is in the right spirit. Her husband understand that, the Lord reign on the just and the unjust. And if I can just get through this, I'll prove myself worthy. And the Lord will bless me. She didn't understand that because she didn't trust him. She believed that within her mind, she knew what was best for him. When the husband is supposed to know what's best for his wife, for his gates. You have to trust him. Right, let's go to Tobit chapter 8. Tobit chapter 8. Let's read verse 6. Tobit chapter 8 and verse 6.
The book of Tobit chapter 8 and verse 6. Thou madest Adam and gavest him Eve his wife for an helper and stay.
Gave him his wife for a helper and stay, man. It's meaning that the Lord gave Adam Eve to be an aid like himself, man. like himself. That's the key point right here. The Lord gave him his wife to be a help like himself. Not like her. Like, let's go to Sirach chapter 8. Sirach chapter 7, my bad. Sirach chapter 7 and verse 26.
The book of Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 7 and verse 26. Hast thou a wife after thy mind?
After thy mind. An aid like unto himself. After thy mind. Come on.
Forsake her not, but give not thyself over to a light woman.
Give not thyself over to a light woman, man. A light woman would be a foolish woman. A light woman is trying to go after her mind. She's trying to be independent. But you want to give yourself over to a woman that's going to be a help like yourself, man. That's going to be after your mind. She's seeking to learn how you operate so she can be a help and be your peace. But a woman that's not trying to be your peace, she's trying to change you for her good, not realizing that it's the man's job to lead and teach his wife. Let's go to Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 9. Proverbs chapter 9 and verse 13.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 9 and verse 13. A foolish woman is clamorous. She is simple and knoweth nothing.
A foolish woman is clamorous, man. A foolish woman is loud. She's a talkative woman to a quiet man. It says she is simple and knoweth nothing. They're showing you that as a wife, you can't usurp authority over your husband. But the scriptures say that a silent and loving woman, man, is a gift from the Lord, man. Right? Let's go to 1 Timothy chapter 2. Just to bring that out real quick. 1 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 12.
The book of 1 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 12. But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence.
But to be in silence, man. It's not talking about you having a muzzle over your mouth. It's talking about you understanding when to speak and what to speak. That's why you have to be wise as an Israelite woman. You marry. You have a watchman. You have to be wise, and you have to make sure that your words are pleasant and comforting to your husband. That's your job. You're being judged accordingly. Let's go to Hebrews 13. Hebrews chapter 13. And let's read verse 17.
The book of Hebrews chapter 13 and verse 17. Obey them that have the rule over you.
Obey them that have the rule over you, man. Obviously, if you marry, your husband has the rule over you. You read that in Genesis, straight up. Say he shall rule over you. Come on.
And submit yourselves. For they watch for your souls.
For they watch for your souls. Your husband's job is that he can present you as a righteous church, a righteous vessel to the Lord. Come on.
As they that must give account, that they may do it with joy and not with grief, for that is unprofitable for you.
That is unprofitable for you. it's very important that you are being a source of peace to your husband and not being a trap and a snare to him, man. But you being his peace. Let's go back to Proverbs 31. Proverbs 31. You know, a lot of women, they'll have Proverbs 31 on their shirt. But when you start reading Proverbs 31, they I want to hear that Bible. Well, the scriptures speak for themselves. Proverbs 31 and 22.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 31 and verse 22. She maketh herself coverings of tapestry. Her clothing is silk and purple.
You have to ask yourself, is this literal clothing right here? Come on.
Her husband is known in the gates.
Her husband is known in the gates. Come on.
When he sitteth among the elders of the land.
That man is proud that his woman is being righteous. It's a glorious thing to look upon. Come on.
She maketh fine linen and selleth it, and delivereth girdles unto the merchant. Strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come.
It says strength and honor are her clothing. So when it's saying she covered herself with tapestry and silk and purple, it's talking about that honor and that strength she's girded herself up with. Come on.
She openeth her mouth with wisdom.
She openeth her mouth with wisdom. There it is, right there. Remember that pleasant and peaceful spirit of wisdom is supposed to be in her mouth. Come on.
And in her tongue is the law of kindness.
In her tongue is the law of kindness, man. We read about, the sacrifice of our lips and let our speech be seasoned with salt. That's the law of kindness. Okay, come on.
She looketh well to the ways of her household, and eateth not the bread of idleness.
She eateth not the bread of idleness. She ain't caught up in foolishness. Come on.
Her children arise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praiseth her. Many daughters have done virtuously, but thou excellest them all.
Thou excellest them all. It's talking about, it say many women have done virtuously, but it's a difference. This is why we were saying earlier, you have to be that virtuous woman before marriage. Because before you can submit to your husband, you have to submit to the Lord. You have to submit to Christ. Before you can submit to a husband, you have to understand. The only way you understand how to treat your husband is understanding you have a duty and there are commandments that you have to follow. That's why I say what it say. It say many daughters have done virtuously, but it's a difference because you may think that you're a virtuous woman, but keep in mind that, you may not have that law of kindness in your lips. And not having the law of kindness in your lips can turn a virtuous woman into a dog. Sirach chapter 28. Sirach chapter 28 verse 15.
The book of Sirach chapter 28 and verse 15. A backbiting tongue.
A backbiting tongue. Read.
Hath cast out virtuous women.
Have cast out virtuous women, man. They say many women have done virtually, but thou excellest them all because you know how to control your tongue. 2nd Esdras chapter 16. Second Esdras chapter 16 and verse 49.
The book of 2nd Esdras chapter 16 and verse 49. Like as a whore envieth a right, honest, and virtuous woman.
Like as a whore envieth a right, honest, and virtuous woman, man. That's showing you that a virtuous woman is very valuable. And people that's in the midst of sin, they're not going to look at her like they like her. The Bible say that the just is an abomination to the ungodly, and the ungodly is an abomination to the just. Come on.
So shall righteousness hate iniquity.
Righteousness is supposed to hate iniquity, man. This is why you have to be that virtuous woman before you get married, because if you're not doing that, first off, as a man, you could risk yourself being unequally yoked. And the same goes for the woman. Let's go back to Proverbs. Back to Proverbs chapter 31. And let's read verse 30.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 31 and verse 30. Favor is deceitful.
Favor is deceitful, man. Meaning that you have to look at the inside of somebody and not just their outward appearance. Come on.
And beauty is vain.
Beauty is vain. Beauty can be a lie. Read.
But a woman that feareth the Lord shall be praised.
She shall be praised. The woman that truly fears the Lord is not going to disobey what he tell her to do, man. Come on.
Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates.
Let her own works praise her in the gates, man. A righteous woman is going to be a light. And you have to make sure that you're being an example, for one, to your children, and also the example that you set forth can comfort your husband. The book of Acts, chapter 5 and verse 29.
The book of Acts, chapter 5 and verse 29. Then Peter and the other apostles answered and said, we ought to obey God rather than men.
We ought to obey God rather than man every single day, man. And with that we say,
Shalom.